Back-to-back losses for the Leafs. They only scored once in each of those games. What happened? One theory, without Matthew Knies and Max Pacioretty, the team played small. As Patches returns tonight, Knies over the weekend. Frankie, you're not convinced the Leafs need to add size between now and the deadline?
No, they have size, Gino. They're the sixth tallest team right now in the NHL. They are the heaviest team, just under 210 pounds. So I'm not concerned about size. They need some skill down the middle of the ice. If they can combine that skill down the middle of the ice with a little bit of speed, that is where the priority should lie with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They can grind it out with anyone. They have big players, and some of their bigger players are some of their more skilled players. You think of Austin Matthews, Matthew Knies, William Nylander is certainly not a small guy. So I don't have an issue with how the Leafs are constructed when it comes to their size. As they look to add some pieces, they're going to need some skill, some speed, and oh yeah, didn't even mention, Gino, they're going to need another depth defenseman that can help them. Who is that? I don't know. Maybe a guy like Luke Schenn. He's big. He can play. We know it works. And then if you maybe think about a Cody Ceci, someone who's been in San Jose, who played well in the playoffs last year at times for Edmonton, but I kind of look at guys like that. Like, they need centermen with speed and skill. They need another depth defenseman. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big player just for the sake of being a big player.
Anybody up front, any names you want to drop there that you think would be good adds between now and the deadline for the Leafs?
It's a lot of the familiar faces. Ryan O'Reilly, Scott Laughton, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederick. Like, you have to think about, okay, you go to your first guy and you say, this is the guy we want. If that's Ryan O'Reilly, for me, that's probably first on my list, regardless of the fact that he left. I'm talking about the player.
He left, Frankie. He didn't want to play in this city. He didn't want to play in this city. How could you want him to come back?
Things change. Time moves on. Like, you're trying to win hockey games. You're trying to win Stanley Cups. And that's just assuming that he would want to come back. Okay, but let's just say he doesn't. That's fine. Then you move on to the next guy. Do you think Yanni Gourde can give you a little bit down the middle of the ice? Maybe. He's got some skill. He's got some speed. Scott Laughton, same thing. Plays with some jam, some drive. Probably not going to give you the most offense, but can fill a need for your team. Remember, come playoff time, this team needs to find a little bit of scoring. That's why I go to Ryan O'Reilly, because he's the centerman that gives you a little bit of everything, but just a tad more on the scoring ability. So listen, it's not a perfect situation, but they're going to have to go out and get someone down the middle of the ice and find a depth defenseman that can play in their top six.
All right, the Leafs get the Wild tonight. Minnesota is playing without its leading scorer. Kirill Kaprizov is out 4 weeks after surgery in lower body. They've only got 2 wins in their last 7. The Leafs are on home ice. Frankie, it looks like a perfect night for the Leafs offense to break out. Or could this be one of those dangerous games for the Leafs?
It shouldn't be one of those dangerous games for the Leafs. And here's the thing, if you can get to 3 goals in this game, it makes it that much more difficult for the Minnesota Wild to get themselves back in a game like this. Without Kaprizov, they don't have Johansson, they don't have Jonas Brodin on the back end. So, you can make it difficult for Minnesota if they have to try and produce offense. And Toronto, like I mentioned, they can kind of grind away with you right now. So if Toronto finds a little bit of offense early in this game, which, admittedly, not necessarily easy to do against Minnesota, that's a very detail-oriented, defensively strong team. But if you do that, it's almost like a race to 3. And if you get there, you can make it difficult for Minnesota to get back in a game.
And Frankie, the Leafs will likely need more than just a goal to win tonight. Joseph Woll starts. It's his 10th start of the month. He's allowed less than 2 goals just once.